Hey everybody,
I'm Steph,
I'm Michael
and today we're checking out Horseless Carriage.
from Splatterspellin. This game plays 3 to 5 players and has a box gameplay time of 3 to 4 hours. So, obviously we can't play this because we only have 2 players here. However, fear not, I will get to teach you all the rules. I know a lot of you are excited because there's been a recent sale on Horseless Carriage recently, and I know a lot of you have just recently picked up this may be your first Splotter game. And if that's the case, maybe you are intimidated by these rules. Never fear, I'm here to help you out. So, thanks to Urin at Splatterspellin for providing us a discounted copy of Horseless Carriage, but he didn't give us the discount in exchange for this video. He gave it to us because he knows we like to play all the games. Let's get right to it while I teach you all the rules. Like most splotters, this has a very gray and white or black and white look with just a little bit of color in some of the areas to set them apart. However, all of the other areas and components just pop with color. Whether it be the player pieces or the cars or what we are not using in this game, the trucks and sports cars, they really pop on the board. So for setup, what you're going to do is each player is going to choose an industrialist, and each of these industrialists, it basically shows what the symbol is. For example, Henry Ford has that circular, the oval Ford logo, and the player aid, I gotta say, is pretty fantastic. You can fairly follow along with everything that goes on in the game just with this player aid. And on the back are all of the different parts. So, for those of you who don't understand the term horseless carriage, we are creating cars at the start of the automotive industry boom in the early 1900s. So, each player is going to get a deck of cards. Make sure to get a set with your color. This looks purple, but it is actually blue. Um, the You'll also get 9 market windows. You will have 3 of them that will encompass as you can see, a 3 square by 3 square area, 3 of them that have a 2 square by 2 square area, and one with a 1 by 2 square area. Move these off, and as you see, they are very flexible. You can bend these fairly well without fear of damaging them. So you'll have 9 of those market windows. You will have 3 dealership stations. Notice those are all different sizes, very slightly different in size. Each player will have 4 marketing departments and all of your wooden brand pieces like so. So what you're going to do is you're going to shuffle these 5 research tracks, 5 different colors. They do not correspond to the players. They actually correspond to features in a car: range, safety, design, reliability, and speed. So you're going to shuffle all of them up, place one at the bottom, one on the side, and the other 3 in order, just from top, some random order from top to bottom. On each track, you're going to place a brand piece from each player. On these, you're going to place them on the first space with a technology on it. On the other 3 boards, you're going to place them before that first technology place, here in the blank area on these 3 tracks. You're going to place a wooden minimum spec indicator. It just looks like this little white road piece. And you're going to place it here between the 0 space and the 1 space on all 5 of the tracks. So, randomly determine turn order and place them on the 1, 2, 3, and 4 spots. Then in reverse order, you're going to place them on the 1, 2, 3, and 4 spots on the planning office area up here. Now, these arrows might be a little confusing, and sometimes the rules will mention highest engineering or highest sales. The arrows make it a little bit confusing because you might think higher number, higher thing, or arrows pointing up towards how it goes higher. That is not how it works. This red piece would be at the highest engineering level. The blue piece would be at the highest sales level. And then purple second most, green third most, red fourth most. So just keep that in mind as we go, as you go through the rules, or as we go through this discussion. So each player is going to be given one research and one planning token. You must immediately place them in your factory using normal factory rules. Here are the factory rules. In each factory, each player is going to get a factory floor to start, not any of the small ones, just these large ones. And you'll notice that there's an area in one of these corners. This is the never build area. You cannot place anything in the hatched area. Even further, you can never place anything next to this area. So when you do have an expansion board, you cannot place it so it is in front, in whole or in part, in front of that hatched area. Nor can you place the loading dock area of another board so that it places in front, next to another board. You've always got to keep the white areas open. So, you are going to place 6 of these expansion floor tiles per player in a big stack. This is a turn counter, basically. When these are gone, you're going to be on your last year, because we're going to be playing over 7 years. 6 times you will get an expansion. The 7th year will be the final year, or sooner if this time clock runs to the end. So, you will place one brand piece for each player at the start of the wealth accumulation track, assembly capacity track, and 2 of them over in the wealth accumulation area. One for the ones track, and one for the 50s counter. And I believe that might have been one. There are a couple things that were missing in the first edition rules. Oh, let me mention the way to tell if you have a first edition or second edition box
Easily
is by the presence or absence of a second edition marking. I can't remember if it is here or here in white, but you'll see it say second edition somewhere on this side of the box. We have a first edition, so we might have a few color discrepancies from the hopefully improved second edition or second printing. Then you're going to draw a number of neutral cards equal to player count plus 1. So I drew 5 of these. Each of these will show a location of where you need to place a car or a truck or a sports car. Now you'll notice I've got only these cars on the board. Why is it that we only have cars? Because they highly recommend that you play the introductory game first. And a lot of people just play with the introductory game. The introductory and normal game are not very different, except in the introductory game, you only have these purple cars. If you're playing with the normal game, you will also have trucks and sports cars, which I gotta say are rather attractive. These shiny blue and shiny gold trucks and sports cars. And that basically gives you three different markets to try to fulfill instead of just one, the basic generic car market. So, um, and you're going to have a lot of other car components and everything. I would recommend just color sorting these and putting them in a pile because you're going to be building these in your factories.
They are piece limited depending on player count.
Yes. For these things, how many? I'm trying to determine how many that you need. Um, you need to return one set of things per player that is not in the game. You'll notice in the big setup chart, you'll see one set of components. These are the ones that you are going to take out for every player color not in the game. And that will make these pieces component limited. Also, if you are not playing with the sports cars and trucks, you will need to take out all of the cards and anything that relates to anything that refers to the trucks and the sports cars. One thing that is missing from the rules is they actually tell you at the very end of the rules is that the quadrant with the hatched area that has that is the highest up that contains cars will get the $6 token. If for some reason we had a car up here, that spot would get the $6 token. And then you would go from there, placing one of these in each of these hatched areas. So, since we only have cars down here, we're going to put the 6 down here. This is the only type of car available on the market. It has 0 level reliability and 0 level speed for these 4 cars. This represents a buyer who wants to buy a car. This buyer wants to buy a car with level 1 speed and level 0 reliability at a minimum. So let's talk a little bit about terminology before we get further into it. Whenever we are talking about one of these squares, we are talking about a niche. This is one square is one niche. Whenever you sell, you're selling to one niche of consumers. Whenever you have a 4x4 niche. Sorry, my mistake. This is one niche. They want whenever you're selling, you sell to a square. 4 squares make a niche. 4 niches make a quadrant. We have quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So initially, all the cars will be here in quadrant 1. And so we have filled up quadrant 1 with lots of these single car spots. As you can see, you will, at the start of the game, I will have placed this car right here, and this car down in the corner, and this car right over here.
There's a really funny tidbit in the beginning of the rules saying, we don't care about brakes or something.
Oh, yeah. Like, currently, people who are buying these cars, they don't need a reliable car or much speed. These people want a little more speed, but brakes, not a big deal, right?
No, because the early cars that like you're going 30 miles an hour anyway, like 15 miles an hour.
Basically, you can already see how the game is starting to shape up. Customers want this level of reliability and this level of speed, and the rest of the stuff doesn't yet really matter unless we have some of these minimum specifications on the board. As you can see here, we want some level of reliability, some levels of speed, but all cars must have at least level 1 safety, or maybe later on in the game, level 2 safety. So, something to think about whenever you are creating your cars. Now, as I mentioned, all of the tiles that you place in the factory must connect to your main loading dock. Each group of tiles, you must be able to make a path back to the loading dock. Now, does that mean I can place another research department out here? Yes, you can. This is a group of tiles connected to the loading dock. Does that mean I can place this research tile way over here? Yes, this is a group of tiles connected to the loading dock. So, whenever we start the game, we do not have a main line. A main line is what you use to create cars. Or if you're playing with the full version, maybe trucks or sports cars. Notice this main line is larger than this main line over here. Now, what you are going to do is you are going to have a main line in your somewhere in your factory, making sure that you place everything. You might be able to see the little grid on here. You always must place your tiles in the grid. So whenever you place a main line, you always have to have a dealership that is connected to it, because the dealership is selling these cars. It doesn't matter on which side you are placing the dealership. It doesn't have to be in the light area. It could be attached any way that you can, as long as it is fitting in the grid.
And if you cover the seaside completely, you won't be able to create any sea ponds.
So what I was about to get to is that whenever you take factory machines that create portions of your car, you need to make sure that you leave room in order to place things of the same letter that can connect back to that letter. So, if I have the ability to make this radiator, then I need to place it so at least one square is connected to A, or at least I can draw a path back to A. Then if I want to make this frame, I can either place it here or I can place it way over here, because I have a path that goes all the way back to A. And the same thing is true with parts in B, C, and D. Why do we even have A, B, C, and D? That's a great question. A parts are those that are installed first. B parts are things that will be installed after that. Like, where are my B parts? Like maybe a steering wheel or an engine. The C parts are things that get installed after that, like paint or a battery or your gauges. The D parts are like aftermarket upgrades, like this fantastic snazzy horn, or what is it really a big, huge upgrade? Maybe a windshield. I mean, that's fancy. Or
that's safety.
Deluxe tires. Now you'll notice all of these parts have colors on them. That is the tracks where you can expect to find those technologies. So, for example, this tire, it's part of green 3, red 4, and yellow 6. So, looking, and you can find all of these on the back of your handy dandy player aid. So, if you're looking here at the tires, the green 3 relates to range 3. You need to have access to the range 3 technology before you can build the machine that makes those tires. If you do have access to either range 3 or red 4 or yellow 6, you can put that machine in your factory to do the green and or red and or yellow thing. So I will talk a little bit more about that in a second, but you'll see on red 4, you've got that tire. On safety 6, you've also got that tire. So, and Steph said she used this player aid a lot whenever she was playing. So, how do you know if you have access to a technology? Well, one way to have access to a technology is to advance on these tracks. If I am up here at the last space of reliability, the blue track, I could build any of the things on this reliability track. I could build a machine that makes the battery or the frame or the door quarter panel or this, I guess that's a bumper or an engine. Or if I get up to this level, I don't have to make another machine that makes a frame. I just have an ability to do reliability level 2 and reliability level 6. Colt Cardboard says, so it's a spatial puzzle. Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
If you get the requirement of like the second frame, you'll get the second spec token, which is what you really want.
So all of this will make sense when you start seeing it appear on the board. Let me go ahead and talk a little bit about it. Let me pretend like I've got this stuff on here. And let's say I do have a little bit of this level C. That's a battery. Where is that battery? I have to attach it to the C area, like so. And I've got level 1 speed. Level 1 speed relates to this engine, and it is B. Now you'll see it's huge. This is a huge tile, but I place it over here somewhere. Now remember, I've got to place all this, so I am touching this group of tiles must touch the loading dock or be touching something that's touching the loading dock. That doesn't give me a lot of room for D stuff. What are you doing?
You could do it like this and then like...
I could do it like this. So what you will do is there are these tokens that are, what are they called? Spec tokens?
Yeah.
So what you are going to do is Steph will fish these out for me. You need to find one of these tokens that matches the color and level for each of your things. It's not this color, Steph. It is this lighter color. So, as you can see, I've now got the correct one. On the back, you can see it says speed, SPD. So, I will place this spec token and must place this spec token next to this engine somewhere. Like so. I could put it here. I could put it here. Notice it's sort of in the way of D, but that's okay as long as I can place something else here. That might be a just fine place to put this. If I were to place it here, the next B piece that I place could be like this. Yes, this does create a path through it. So I can do something that looks like this, where I've placed my little spec token. I like to place it so it points to the part that it refers to. Then maybe later on I place this B part along with my yellow B. And maybe I put it down this direction, like so. So the parts don't have to touch, or maybe they do touch like this. I had put this spec token way up here because I had that little notch. And then I put this, maybe let's stick that in like this. At some point, I'm going to want to put a green 1 pointing to this engine when I get access to that technology. And then later in the game, when I have access to blue 5, I need to put my blue 5 spec token pointing to this engine. These brakes only matter for safety level 1, and that's as much as that does. Eventually, what we're going to do is we are going to place 1 cube on each of those spec markers, and that will contribute to a level of your car, like so. Let me put all these on my board like this. I need a medium dark blue.
Well, we don't have that, so.
So I'll put this lighter colored blue. It really doesn't matter what color you use here, just so, yeah, thank you. Just so you know what it is. So I have a car that is level one, that has 1 cube of blue. It doesn't matter what level of blue it is. A level 2 blue cube would work just the same as a level 1 blue cube. Cubes are cubes, right? So I have 1 cube of reliability. Yes, there are times that you might have a level 5 of something, but you don't have level 4 or 3 or 2 because you can't fit it in your factory. And 1 level of speed and 1 level of safety. So I put all of those into the connected dealership. That will allow me to sell some number of cars from this dealership that meet this criteria, or these criteria, I should say. Now, we don't really need yellow. For these buyers, we need red and blue. So here we have it right here. Now, eventually we will get some of these factory extensions, and there's a little bit of word of warning for how you put these on. Let's give you a couple of examples. If I were to create another main line over on this side, again, it does not matter where you put the main line. I need another one of my dealerships. Unfortunately, I've only got my large one here. So let's do some more pretend work here. Let's say I have something like this. Turn this around. What I will be able to do is this B is also connected to this red and this yellow. I can make a car with 1 speed and 1 safety, but I'm not connected to these blues over here. They don't flow all the way through. If I want some blues on C, I might need to do something like this, and I can indeed, assuming there's another battery available, I can indeed put this battery here with the little blue token pointing to it, and that will give me the blue cube for here. Now I can sell from Dearborn and Kansas City. Now, what's to stop me from placing a main line over on this side, like so? Then that way I've got blue coming in. Now, here's the danger with doing it this way. If you have one dealership connected to 2 main lines, you can only take the least amount of cubes from each thing. This is the most confusing part, and I would not recommend that you do what I'm doing right here. And that is this. This main line can do blue and nothing else. This main line can do blue and red and yellow. This main line can't do red and yellow. So only blue gets placed here. Do not place, I would recommend, do not place 2 main lines touching one dealership. If you want to put 2 main lines, I would highly recommend using your main lines to share parts, these machines that make these parts, but not sharing dealerships. Do it like so. That way you're selling cars from Dearborn and Kansas City, for example.
No blue.
Oh yeah, he currently doesn't unless I put that battery over here. So every time you gain a technology, you can put the spec marker pointing to this this piece of machinery. So that basically explains to you a little bit about how this factory floor is going to go. How does the game itself work? How do you get through step A, step B, and step C in the game? Let me go ahead and clear all these off, and I will walk you through stepwise. Step 1 is the research step. This is where we are going to increase our research tracks in order to gain access to new technologies. So, whoever has the highest engineering focus, and that means the left side, goes first. And for every research department, everybody starts with 1. Every research department allows you to push one of your tokens forward on any of these research tracks, or your token on the assembly capacity track, or someone else's token on the research tracks. Someone else's token, why would I want to give someone else access to technology? You will want to do that for sure, and I'll tell you here in a second. So, here's a catch. If I have 4 levels of engineering, I've got 4 of these dark gray research offices in my factory. It can be anywhere in your factory, not really connected to anything in particular, but everything must connect to the loading dock. I can move 4 things. I cannot move 1 up 4 times. Matter of fact, I can move my tokens up each track a maximum of 1. I can't go up 4 times on capacity. I can do each once. So I might want to move myself up reliability. Let's say Steph is way up high on design. I might want to push her forward on design, especially if I can gain access to her technology. Oh, yes, that is possible, and in fact is one of the key mechanisms in the game. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure I mentioned, you need to put the time clock on the player count. I did say that?
Yep.
Okay, good. So, if a research marker reaches a spot with a punch clock, like what you see here on B, these 2 B areas here, you need to move that punch clock forward 1 space. Tick! We are now 1 space closer to the end of the game. So that's research. And then the second person does it, the third person does it, fourth person does it. What I do might influence what Steph does, because I might move her forward and she might want to move someone herself or someone else forward. So in that way, you can push, like if I push my own token, Steph can also push my token. And so I've advanced 2 levels in 1 year. That is possible. So to set focus. In the set focus phase, we're going to set the turn order for the subsequent phases. This is where we are going to choose whether we are stronger in engineering or sales. So we have a stock of these planning office things. These are Gantt charts. For those of you who do engineering-based things, these are Gantt charts. What we are going to do is, starting with the person with the most Gantt charts. So here, Steph would decide whether she wants to spend all of her Gantt charts and then choose to go first through fourth. You won't ever use unused player count. So Steph can choose to go first in engineering. She's saying no.
No, we're not spending it.
We're not spending it. Okay.
No.
What about green? Then green can choose whether green spends his or her Gantt charts.
I think so.
All right, green spends the Gantt charts. Green can choose from 1 to 4.
Choose one.
Green wants to go first for engineering. Does not care about selling, wants engineering. Purple.
Yeah, purple wants to spend to go last.
Purple wants to go last because purple might have a lot to sell or wants to target a particular area to sell. Blue says, well, I'm okay with 2 or 3, so I'm just going to hold Sorry about that audio cutout. So red moves to 2, blue moves to 3, just going from left to right. That is the end of the set focus phase. Then we're going to go to the build factory phase. That's where we add all these fantastic things to our factory. We're going to do this concurrently. However, if there is a component limitation, you go by engineering focus. Green would get priority over red, blue, and purple. So we're going to build things in our factory. Remember that we have to place them following all the normal placement rules. This is where you take your main lines and place them, your dealerships and place them, and all of these parts and place them in your factory. The only parts you can place in your factory are the ones that you have access to. Let's go ahead and take a look at some examples here. So yeah, Steph is going to do that there. So what technologies do we have access to? Here's the key of the game. Whoever is in this leftmost engineering spot has the most engineering focus and can use the technologies of other players in the game. So if you see that this is on the 1 spot, green can build anything that 1 or more players have access to, meaning green can build this red component because red has access to this, or this purple thing, or this blue thing. Green has access to levels 1 through 4 of reliability. Green also has access to anything green would have access to. So green would have access to anything in the speed area. So green can go hog wild and build anything that they want in their factory, provided they have room in their factory. Initially, as you see, the space is at a premium. Now, what is to prevent green from placing a ton of main lines? Nothing really. You can short players some main lines, or in some cases, you could take all of the research or all of the planning offices and not do as much with your main line. These don't cost any money. These part machines do not cost any money. And that is a little bit of a brain bend for people who are used to resource management games. You don't have to spend any wealth. You just have to have access to the technology. Now, a lot of people mistakenly believe that this means that green can do anything the other players can do. Yes, for the first one, but not for the second one necessarily. What this means, red does not have access to anything purple and blue can do. A lot of people think that. Red can do anything that 2 or more people have access to. Meaning, red has access to anything in reliability because red is up on reliability. Red would have access to this safety feature because both blue and green have access to this safety feature. If they were up here, red would have access to all of this safety stuff. However, if blue were down here, red does not have access to way up here. Red would have access to this part because blue and green have access to that. So it doesn't matter what player colors, as long as 2 players have access to the technology, red can steal it. You have access to what you can do and what this many people can do. Blue has access to anything 3 people can do. Maybe I'm lagging down on the range track and we have a situation like this. Blue would have access to anything that red, green, and purple can do. Therefore, I can do radiators, I can do engine, even though I'm way down here. Pretty cool. If I were at level 2, I would have access to range 4 and below. This is what I will be able to put into my factory. Now, what happens next turn when I lose access to these technologies? The machines still work. you don't lose access to the technologies, but you cannot put them anymore in other parts of your factory if you no longer have access to the technology. And that will happen. So that is one of the key parts to the game. Anyway, you can place anything you want in your station as long as they follow the placement rules. It must, all the parts, all the technology stations must be connected to the correct spot on the main line. You can't just take something and put it so it's not connected to the right portion of the main line. You have to be able to place it. You cannot place two things in the same connected main line just to part starve. Having two horns does not create a speed bonus like red is speed. You cannot do this to create two red cubes. This does not work. Your parts must be locally unique. If you have another main line elsewhere in your factory, you can indeed do something like this, as long as those are not connected. You can't do this situation because you see these main lines are sharing all the C parts. You don't need another horn. So in that case, maybe I would recommend doing, maybe something like this, provided you have access to the technology. And remember to put all your little spec arrows on there to point to each of these parts. If you don't have the spec arrow, you don't have that technology. So, um, after you place all that you want to place in your factory, the last thing you do is place a new expansion into your factory. It doesn't matter where you put it as long as you do not block the loading dock. I forgot to mention, each of those technology stations, you must place one of the spec things on those pieces. For example, I can't put a horn, like let's say that I've only got a little 2x2 area that I can put this horn. If I can't put the spec indicator, I cannot put the horn in my factory. So, finally, to show that you're done, move your playing piece down on the planning office so everyone can see you are done with your building. So, the fourth thing that we do is to print sales brochures. This is to process what we did. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to increase the amount of our Gantt charts. I've got 3 planning offices. I get 3 Gantt charts. Easy, 1, 2, 3, just like that. Hey, later on, you notice that Steph and I have the same number of Gantt charts. Whenever it comes time to choose order, Steph is higher on engineering. She's going to get to choose first. Of course, Steph is going to have some number of Gantt charts, so we move her forward that many spaces. Then we are going to determine those specs for the dealers by doing all of those cubes like what I showed you earlier. If you've got, for example, the two of the spec arrows that go into yellow type of parts that connect correctly to your main line, you're going to have 2 yellow cubes, which means you can sell level 2 yellow, assuming yellow were over here. What you'd really want, maybe you want 3 red cubes to allow you to sell to people anywhere through here. Now, it depends on where your blue cubes are as to whether you have 0, 1, 2, or 3 blue cubes. If you have a 3 red cube, 3 blue cube car, you can sell to all of these people in this hatched area. So, now keep in mind that if there are minimum specifications, we'll get to this a little bit more later, but if you do not meet minimum specifications, you will not be able to sell any of your cars, period. So if this is like this, you don't need to be at level 1 on the safety track, you need to make cars with at least one yellow cube, regardless of what is here. I forgot to mention when you do get Gantt charts and you land on or pass over this time clock, click, one tick leaves the time clock. All right, then we're going to sell, sell, sell. Now, why did we not put any cars on our dealerships? Because basically, if I were to put this on my dealership, that indicates that dealership can sell cars at a level 1 speed and a level 2 reliability. That indicates the type of cars that I can sell. That does not indicate how many cars I can sell. What indicates that? That's right, it's the assembly capacity. Let's say I've got this at level 3. That means each of my dealerships can sell 3 cars. So, let's take
each main line could sell 3.
No, each dealer can sell 3. No, I think, well, yes, each main line can sell 3. Yes, you are correct. Yes, you are correct. If you have a main line, 2 main lines connected to one dealer, yes, you can indeed sell 3 cars per main line. But keep in mind, if you've got 2 main lines attached to one dealer, they are going to be able to do the least amount of each type of cube on those 2 main lines.
Again, we recommend not doing that.
Don't do that. So what you are going to do for selling is the player with the highest sales focus goes first. So you are going to place one of your market windows over the top of one or more squares. If you have a dealership with no marketing next to it, this is a marketing tile. If you have marketing next to the tile, you will get a bigger market window. No windows gives you access to this smallest market window. Notice I've got a little thing that says Dearborn up here. You will have a small, medium, and large for Dearborn. You will have a small, medium, and large for Detroit. That is if you are Ford. You'll have a small, medium, and large for Kansas City. And those are the only 3 dealerships you have. So choose one of your dealerships. Place your market window over the top of a group of cars and then sell to one of the squares in your market window. So I will sell to this buyer. Remember, this indicates the buyers for this car. I will take this car, I will put it on my main line, and notice I've got a 3 capacity. I could still sell 2 more cars, but I can't do it yet because there were no more cars in that spot. Had there been 2 more cars in that spot, if there had been 2 cars, I could and would have had to sell to both if I chose this square.
You'd want to.
I would certainly want to. And then I'm going to get $12 moving up on the wealth accumulation track. Then let's say Steph comes along and she can place her market window. If she were to place her market window this way, I don't have her market window handy. Let's say Steph were to place her market window like so. Yes, she can overlap me. She could even do this if she wanted. That's perfectly fine. I could even do that on my own. Not that I would want to, but I could. So let's say Steph places like this. Her best move would be to go yoink and sell this car, leaving Dearborn with no more cars able to be sold. But that would be your best play.
Yep.
And you indeed did that to me when we played.
It'd be purple first. The purple would probably do that.
Yes, purple would have done it before you. You could have come along and sabotaged purple similarly, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's how that works. And those cars will disappear, bloop, 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 because the buyers are being fulfilled. Now, notice, if I'm doing this, I need to have 1 red and no blue cubes. So
No, none or more.
None, yes, that's the catch. None or more. So, if I had one marketing office connected to the dealership, I could put a 2x2 window on instead. Or if I had two marketing offices connected to Dearborn, I could place a 3x3 instead. And you'll place it wherever it is most convenient and lucrative.
Corsi, is that if it's at 0, you don't have to be making 0. You could be making more.
You could be making 4,
exact,
and they will take that. Yes.
And then each player has a specific technological specialty. Not really.
No, there's a little fun fact on each of these, but they don't have any particular. It is not asymmetric with that. That would be a pretty cool thing if there were any sort of, if it were asymmetric player abilities. I'd be all in for that.
Yeah.
So, you can place your window so it goes outside of the market. You cannot place your window if you could not sell to that group, meaning if I can do level 1 but I can't do level 2, I cannot place my window like so, because these are outside of what I could have possibly sold. It's an easy thing just to go like that because we don't really block each other, so I'm not sure why that limitation is even in the rulebook. Not exactly
you can't buy, you can't sell to those people.
You can't sell to them, but yeah. You can't even place your window over them.
I just want to be clear, as you play through the game, these purple cards that aren't sold to are still there.
Yes.
So the board becomes more and more populated with customers, and so you're not always going to be overlapping other people, and you want there to be as many opportunities for you to sell your cards as you can, because each main line can sell as many as your capacity.
But you do want to undercut as much as you can. Now, when you are selling on your turn, the first thing you must do is to place your window. You don't have to place your second window yet. You could, but you don't have to. If you've got 2 or 3 dealerships. Now remember, you can only do that if you have multiple dealerships. If you don't, like I've only got Dearborn, I only have the one window. I got no other choice. But let's say I did have a second dealership. I could then place my 1x2 or 2x2 or whatever size window in a completely different area. Even if I could sell to Dearborn, I don't have to yet. Or I could sell to Dearborn and keep holding my Detroit window for my next round of selling. Each round of selling, you're selling to 1 square. So, we go around and around and around. But remember, if you can sell all the cars, you must sell all the cars in that 1 square niche that you picked. So, then we're going to do what's called the finish step. In the finish step, we see, did the time clock move to the 0 and turn over to the finish side? If so, the game is over. Most wealth wins. Sales focus wins ties. So currently I would win, and purple would beat Steph for second on a tiebreaker. But it would not end with such a low score. Anyway, that's a rather short phase because now we're moving on to advanced expectations. Buyer expectations change. Oh, I know I forgot this. Do you see this little arrow? This is the obsolescence marker. It is placed at the start of the game, pointing towards this bottom track. This is the track that's heading off. So, what we do is we remove this research track, the one that has the obsolescence marker pointing to it, and you place it underneath the other tracks. Move the obsolescence marker to the other track. Whatever that was, that's going to be the next one to be removed. Then you're going to increase the minimum spec for this dimension by placing a 1. Blue just got moved off, so reliability is right here, and we're going to move this marker up 1. All players must build cars with at least 1 reliability from now on. So, then what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the new dimension. How do we introduce the new dimension? Not counting the one you just removed. Look and see whichever one of these tracks is the most innovative. How do we determine that? How many spaces per player and total have been advanced on each of these tracks? Let's count. Design, nobody's moved up design. Let's say I had moved up design to here. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got an innovation level of 4. This yellow track has been moved up 1, 2, 3, 4 by green, another 2 by blue, 5, 6, another 1 by red, 7. 7 innovation for safety. How about range? 1, 2, 3, 4 green, 5, 6, 7, 8 purple, 9, 10 red. 10 for range. Range wins. But let's say 2 of these were tied. We're going to take the highest one, highest up on the track. Yeah, starting with design. The highest up would get it. But range has 10 innovation. We're going to place range here. Now, range is going to be this bottom axis. Now, look and see what this level is at. This level is marked at 0. We don't move this at all. The 0, 1, 2, 3. 0 range is still good. That's fine. Let's say later on, speed comes off, and for some reason, now, when we're counting these, remember, we're counting everything after the bar. Blue is already at a little bit of a disadvantage. Red comes over here. Speed gets put up 1. Speed comes up 1 like this. This will move down. But we start counting 1 space over for the blue track. So 1, 2, 3, 4 blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for yellow.
That's purple.
Oh yeah, purple, sorry. And yellow. Blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for blue. Blue would come back out on the track. I'm going to show you this in a minute, but notice if we had not pushed these so high, maybe that wouldn't have happened, because even if we had just as advanced tracks like this, notice safety would win over reliability for sure. Because notice, this is a 7. Here it's just a 1, 2, 3, 4. So safety would have won over reliability. But let's say we pump that way, way up. Reliability comes back out. Notice that minimum level is at 1. This slides. We're looking at values from 1 to 4. If it were to happen yet again, and a level 2 thing came back out like in year 5, we did have that happen in our game. This flips. And I don't have the markers out, but there's a 5 cube marker that goes there. Levels 2 through 5 reliability. That's as high as it goes, because you won't have anything coming out that is even 1 step further advanced than that. Cold Cardboard said, my head is already spinning. Yes, it can be very, very intricate, but
this is round per round. We're just kind of going through.
Yeah, we're going through what could happen in later rounds, just so you know what this track is for.
Yeah, it depends on this number here, how many times you're going to.
It depends. So minimum reliability is 2. This must be at 2.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes it easy. So let's move that back. Move this back. Oh yeah, this was still at 1. Move that back. Anyway, the next thing is the last phase is to grow demand. Remember, you got these cards here. What you're going to do is you're going to select one of these cards. Notice I have several cards that each of them shows some quadrant, right? And if you're playing with the trucks and the sports cars, there will also be cars with the cards that have those Currently, remember, we've got them all removed because we're just playing with normal cars. So the first requirement is if we're playing in year one, round one, you can only use the cards that have a one in the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my level one cards and I'm going to play it in a quadrant of my choice. We're going to do this in engineering order. So green would go first. Green would put down a card in one of the four quadrants. Red would do the same in any quadrant, even one that green did. Then purple will go. Let's say it's my turn and I'm like, I'm pretty good with blue and green. I'm going to place mine up here. We reveal the cards. We place new buyers on those spots. Notice to just match up the quadrants. We will advance the time clock any spots that you see here. And we'll do that for all the cards that were placed by everyone playing. In year two, I could play this card. In year three, I can play this card. Sorry, I messed that up slightly. I don't place a card. I put a spark marker. I almost messed that up.
Yep.
We're placing spark markers out. Let's say someone else played this card. They're going to get a spark marker here. Later on, maybe I place this card. I'm going to get spark markers in each of those spots. Now, notice these spark markers are double-sided. There's one car on one side, two cars on the other side. So, what do these spark markers do? These spark markers spark demand. After we've done our cars, our demand cards, we are going to place new cars, new buyers out in these spots. Every place that has a spark marker has the chance to get more buyers. So, one buyer in each of these spots. This means we add one and to a maximum of double this number, so to a maximum of two. This means add two to a maximum of four. This means add 3 to a maximum of 6 in that one square. If there's already enough, then you don't add any more. So that's how you get new buyers out there. The spark markers will stay. Even when the buyers disappear, the spark markers always stay, or they will increase over time. And we get more and more and more buyers wanting this fantastic thing called the automobile. Now, let's say that this is what happened. The 6 will go where the most, oh, sorry, not yet. Pause. We will then do one neutral card in, where are my neutral cards, Stephanie? I've lost my neutrals.
Yeah, because I don't see them.
I don't see them either. So you will take all of the neutral cards, shuffle them up, and you will place those neutral cards for additional buyers, not sparks, just plain old cards. So you will put one of the neutral cards and put it in, you draw neutral cards equal to number of players minus 2. For this, we would take 2 cards and put it in quadrant 1. Then draw 1 card for quadrant 2 and place 1 card in quadrant 3 and place none for quadrant 4. So then we put the prices for each price segment. Top gets 6. That's empty, but it's still 4. These are 3. The 2 is not used. Hey, now we're ready to go to the next year. We go back to year 1, lather, rinse, and repeat all the way through the end of the game. Like I said, most wealth will eventually win. The key to our game was this when we played. Amy decided to do that technique we said never, ever, ever do and put 2 main lines into one dealership. She ended up with a cube missing that she needed to sell cars. Steph had a really fantastic factory but did not have any room for a second mainline and dealership. Therefore, she was selling really well up here in this quadrant with uh, selling a lot of sixes, but did not have a secondary lower tier car in another dealership. I managed to squeeze a second dealership over on the side. I had a fantastic factory like Steph's, but Steph focused a lot on research. I focused a lot on planning and had barely enough room for another dealership. So I had one big one here and a smaller one over here. Those little $3 cars times 4 and 5 cars when my assembly capacity was high, I was able to sell 3 times 5. It's $15 worth of cars in the last 2 years of the game. So, and we did run out of time in year 6. We did not go to year 7.
And so our friends also played this at like at the same time as we were playing.
James and Susan, yeah.
And Susan also had a similar issue that Amy had. So I definitely, until you're really familiar with how the game works, we said it a bunch. We're saying it again. Don't put 2 main lines at a dealership because of how that, lowest quantity like problem you will run into.
Yeah.
Especially as the years go on and there's more and more requirements for how to produce a car. Early game it's easy because you don't need all those like cube producing things, but as the game goes on, by the end, you're going to need at least 5 cubes minimum to put out a car.
It's really tempting when you have the engineering focus to snatch up all those technologies. You just don't have a lot of room.
You're very limited on space.
Another strategy tip, I want to make sure that you guys understand, you want to share things as much as possible. Maybe you want to share a lot of B's, or maybe you want to share a lot of D's, right? If you do this right, you can share D's that way, B's around this way, C's around this way. A's are going to be difficult because they're on the edges. Now, I did not realize, this is a big thing that I did not realize. I thought if I was sharing these, my B's were on opposite sides. Notice. See, it looks like they're all the same. Flip the tile over. You can now share a lot easier.
Yeah.
I would have done a lot better if I'd realized these directions are mirrored.
Yeah.
You really need to think about that. So,
well, there were things like, what's to stop you from just taking 5 main lines and
and shutting everyone else out because they have no main lines.
So, just I don't know. I think everybody should start with a main line of some sort.
Yes. Well, here's the key though. Every main line must have a dealership. Those dealerships are not small. As you can see, Kansas City is huge. Dearborn is medium. Detroit is small. If I can find where my Detroit ended up. But that's why you can't just randomly put in 2 or 3 main lines just willy-nilly into the. Now, you could put 3 main lines next to one dealership, but again, I would not recommend it. The great food chain bus carriage, yes. So, I did not mention a lot about the full game with the trucks and the sports cars. Trucks give you $1 extra. Sports cars give you $2 extra. But keep in mind, those main lines are definitely differently sized. I'm not even sure I've seen the sports car ones. Oh, here it is. The sports car one is small.
Well, yeah, they're sports cars.
Right. But if you get $2 extra, I can't remember. I can't remember what the other deal was with sports cars.
My guess is that they just come out less.
That must be what it is.
So therefore, there's not many buyers for it.
Yeah,
I guess.
I saw in the neutral cards, there were like 5 or 6 cards with cars, 1 card with a truck, and none with sports cars. You do get them in here, and maybe you put a bunch of sports
you're
cars
gonna
out. You're going to have to push your own
doing it.
sports car demand.
Yeah.
But, hey, that's how the car companies did it. They pushed their own demand like that. So, super crunchy game, to be sure.
Definitely.
But hopefully, this rules video helped you get through all the terminology and how to move all the counters around, because you don't want to get overwhelmed in this. You want to immerse yourself in the game and not with all the rules.
Yeah.
So
I think I like the part that where you can just take what you want. I do wish it was kind of like unlimited. Not that I ever really ran into the issue of, needing a part.
you mean unlimited in the parts,
Right.
and the main lines and
But
things like.
I'm sure that they tested it and it didn't work out or something. But it makes me feel like, oh, if I'm not doing it now, when can I do it? Or is someone going to take my parts? And so
I thought about that several times. I'm like, I'd better go hire an engineering, not just to have access to the technologies, but to just have access to the part. I want to be able to build that part first, both to deny someone else and so that I have it in my factory.
I felt most limited in the space. So it is a spatial puzzle because you want to fit as much as you can on the tiles you're given. So
Yes.
and I like that part of the game because
It is a good tile puzzle.
figuring out like, well, if I can build this way, I can maybe put an extension to get these other D tiles over here that I want to play, but you also have to manage that with your Gantt track and hopefully get first place so you can get access to the best technology.
That's what I did. I
You
didn't do
focus
as
on
much
that.
research. I did a lot of planning. But here's the thing: you spend all your Gantt charts, and if any of your opponents don't, then they're going to go in front of you at some point, and it might mess up your day. At the moment you need that technology, it won't be available to you.
Yeah.
The other thing, there are some strategy notes in the rule book that says you should not build stations that you don't build stations you don't immediately need, but that you can build later. So that might not make a lot of sense, but let's say I'm way ahead on the range track. I could build range whenever I want.
Don't
No
do
problem.
it now unless you need the cubes.
My fault. My problem was I went ahead and built it,
Yeah.
even when I didn't need the cubes.
I was definitely better about managing that than you, I guess.
Yes.
Because I'm like, we don't need anything with purple right now, so I'm not even gonna like look at the purple stuff. But that's where I was looking at the play rate a whole lot. Like, if I go up this track, what does it get me, and how can I utilize that?
That's fair.
So, yeah.
Quick note about first edition. In first edition, some of the lighter yellows and I think medium light blues are missing from the first printing
For the
of
spec arrows.
Of the little spec arrows on Horseless Carriage. On Splatter's website, you can order replacements for those tokens. So they are making it right. But that said, the game is perfectly playable with the tokens that exist. Let's say that I'm building a level 2 blue, a B blue, and this is an A blue token. Then I can use this instead. It doesn't matter that it's colored a little bit differently. You just have to remember, oh, hey, this is really part of the darker B track and not the lighter A track when connecting other things to it.
Yeah, I didn't find much issue.
I did not find any problems at all. I don't even think that the replacement tiles are all that necessary. So, yeah, that is all the rules and our thoughts about Horseless.
I'm glad we were able to
Carriage.
play it and show you how it's played.
It's a big chunky game.
It's very chunky.
So, be sure to check out our other rules videos, and when we have the player count, our playthroughs on your YouTube channel. Just search for
Board Gamer Steph.
That's You on YouTube. So, even better, you can join us live on twitch.tv/BoardGamerSteph, where we stream live every Wednesday and Sunday night at 5 p.m. Central. And we stream 3 games or more every single stream. So come join us on Twitch, where we play all the games.
And for those on Twitch, we'll be right back.
Meep, meep.